Each day has a yin and yang. Now, I won't go into the definition of each here. What I will say is that the yin and yang are a duality of energy that provides balance and harmony. Yin energy holds the more dynamic yang energy in check, and yang energy keeps yin energy from slipping into stagnation. Each force dominates and is then replaced by the opposing force in an infinite struggle for harmony. Yin-yang energy is apparent in the world around us, appearing as opposites like night and day, hot and cold, summer and winter, blah, 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 etc., etc., etc. And to keep this blog a quick read, that's what I try to do, I go for one or the other. But today, it's hard on this July 28th, so I'm going to go for them both, right? And we'll start with the yang. On this day, July 28th, 1794, we have Maximilien Robespierre, a neat guy. Yeah, he was righteous, not one to drink alcohol, not one to chase women. And he was just one of those type of conservative guys that doing everything right, you know. And of course, this got him elevated to the head of the Committee for Public Safety. And this is where he became the executioner for the French Revolution. You know, he was sending men and women to the guillotine like drops of wax from a candle. Called himself a slave of freedom. In fact, he was a mean and vindictive tyrant who sent his political enemies to the guillotine more often than the enemies of the state. On the morning of July 28th, he was seized by the French troops and shot in the lower jaw. Later that day, he was sentenced to death, and around 8 p.m. that night, he was taken to the guillotine where they unwrapped his face where it had been shot, and blood gushes out, and he's moaning. They take him to the guillotine. The blade the blade got his head, and it was instant karma. Justice. You know, he'd sent all those people to the guillotine that were his public enemies, and now on this July 28th, bam, he's getting the same treatment. Now, a few years later, still in France, on July 28, 1835, we have a Giuseppe Marco Fischi. Man, he had an idea to assassinate King Louis Philippe. So he bound 20 guns together and fired the contraption at the king from an upper story window. You know, kind of like Lee Harvey Oswald. 20 guns wrapped up together. Boom, going to shoot them all, right? 20 guns in there, had a stick through all the little finger thing. Boom, he's going to shoot all 20 guns. Boy, he's a man for today, isn't he? Rapid fire. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, just one of those type of guys. Anyway, one of the bullets killed the king's horse. Another grazed the king, but didn't hurt him. And so nobody was hurt. A couple of people were shot around there, though. But our hero here, Fischi, he wasn't so lucky. One of the guns backfired and nearly killed him. Boom, blasted him, burned his eyes and all that stuff. But it didn't kill him. So the doctors, brought him back to life. The doctors saved him, and he got to experience the same guillotine that Robespierre had knelt for 41 years earlier. Yeah, that happened. So that's the very masculine yang of a July 28. Now here is the yin, my findings of the yin. And I start here on July 28th, a hot July 28th in the year 1278, where my favorite Buddhist reformist priest that I've spoken of many times, Nichiren Daishonin, he writes a letter to a lay nun which informs her that all the previous Buddhist teachings that said a woman had to be reincarnated as a man before she could attain enlightenment or Buddhahood, whatever you want to call it, was bullshit. That's my words, not his. Okay, that's 1278. He stirred up some shit there because no other church, period, other than the Wicca church out in the, people kneeling in the trees with their private altars, acknowledged the women at all. But it also seems to set a tone for the yin of July 28. For in 1893, on a not-so-hot July 28, in New Zealand, a massive woman suffrage petition with over 30,000 signatures was delivered to Parliament demanding a woman's right to vote. Of course, this would result in New Zealand being the first developed country to allow women to vote the same year as they did that petition. Now, speaking of empowering women, on a hot July 28 in the year 1903, Mary Harris Jones leads a protest march to the home of President Theodore Roosevelt to call his attention to the abusive corporate practice of using children as laborers. You know, that happened at Tex Mills. My family back in Tennessee, Kentucky, they were working coal mines. It was very wrong. So she went there with her bullhorn and she said, "Hear the wail of the children, children who never have a chance to go to school, but work 10 to 11 hours a day in a textile mill." And of course, the woman of whom I speak is none other than Mother Jones, who went on fighting for the working class and changing the practice of greedy corporate profiteers who still to this day cringe when they hear the name Mother Jones. On another hot July 28th, not so long ago in 2016, most of us remember that, Hillary Clinton became the first woman to accept the nomination of a major political party. And bam, did that set off the Yang controversy or the Yang energy in this world. Boy, I tell you, you saw Vladimir Putin, who's now got a war. He started doing his shit. Xi Jinping, Donald Trump, the list goes on and on and on. And of course, she didn't become president. She got close and probably really did win, but we'll never know. So I promise not to go political here anyways. My heavenly messengers told me not to do that. Talking about July 28, let's not forget that it was on a pleasant July 28 in 1929 in Southampton, New York, that Jacqueline Lee Bouvier was born. That's right, Jackie Kennedy, the most gracious wife of a world leader in the 20th century. That's a fact. So now finally, remember to relax today on this hot July 28. And if you're reading this or seeing this here in 2023, which I'm doing this, but of course it's for all July 28th. But if you're actually hearing this right now, you might be experiencing a little more mental fatigue than normal. As you can see, they've kind of helping me with my mental fatigue here in the hospital for a few days. But anyway, if you're experiencing the same thing, it's because Jupiter stations retrograde in Aries today. That's what I keep telling the doctors, by the way. Which means Jupiter appears to be moving backwards in its orbit, and so I think this really affects me every 9 months. It really does. Things get fuzzy, and I got to change my meds, and next thing you know, I'm back in here. This happens every 9 months. It's no big deal. None at all. It's just the time to confront those parts of ourselves we have been neglecting. Oh, shit, here they come. I gotta go.
The trouble is, if it's nerves, they never get over it.